Today I am going to discuss the most important chapter of the 11th class student, The Childhood by the Marcus Natten. Childhood is written by the Marcus Natten. In this poem, poet thinks over his lost childhood. He wonders about the moment when he lost the innocence and realized that the world is not what he seems to be. He recalls when his thought changed and he realized the hypocrisy of the people around him. He finally settled down to the idea that his childhood went some forgotten place and is hidden in the face of an innocent infant. In the poem, the poet wonders when he lost his childhood and innocence, which he had, he becomes conscious that he no longer sees the world as he did earlier. He can also sense the hypocrisy in the peoples. He recalls many instances in his life when he could have lost his childhood, when he wondered if it was the day he chose to be 11. He also realized that hell and heaven didn't exist in this world and no one could find them in this geography. Second, he talks about the possibility when he realized that adults are not what they seem to be and they are hypocrites. They talk and preach of love, but their actions are don't say so. Now we have the theme of the poem. The poem Childhood focuses on the loss of the innocence. Marcus Natten, the poet, wonders when and where he lost his innocence as well as his childhood. He ponders over these questions and highlights the loss of innocence and faith in the quest of the growing up. Now we have the literary devices. There are beautiful rhyming schemes used by the poet, for example, A, B, B, C, C, D. Refrain. A group of phrase which is repeated in the poem is called refrain. Individuality. In this poem, third stanza, poet realizes that he can produce his own thoughts. He discovers a sense of individuality in himself. Antithesis, where two opposite words are used together in a sentence in the poem, is called antithesis. Here we have the conclusion of the poem. The poet regrets having lost his innocence as a child. He realized that after he turned 12, he realized that hell and heaven didn't exist as had been taught to him. He rationalized his thought and drew his own conclusion. So, by the descriptions of the poem, we comes to know that how the childhood by the Marcus Natten is a very important poem in which he realized that his innocence is lost, which he had. He became conscious that he no longer sees the world as he did earlier. He can also sense the hypocrisy in the pupils. He recalls many instances in his life when he could have lost his childhood. He wondered if it was the day he chose to be 11. ये उस समय की बात थी जब वो 11 साल का होने वाला था. He also realized that hell and heaven didn't exist in this world and no one could find them in this geography. Second, he talks about the possibility when he realized that the adults are not what they seems to be and they are hypocrites. They talk and preach of the love but their actions are don't so. Now we have the theme of the poem. The poem Childhood focuses on the loss of innocence. Marcus Natten, the poet, wonders when he and where he lost his innocence as well as his childhood. He ponders over these questions and highlights the loss of innocence and faith in the quest of growing up. Literary devices are beautifully used by the poet. There are beautifully rhyming schemes used by the poet, for example, A, B, B, C, C, D, and refrain, a group of phrases which is used repeatedly in the poem, and individuality, which produced his own thoughts. He discovered a sense of individuality in himself. Antithesis, where two opposite words are used together in a sentence is called antithesis. By the conclusion of the poem, we come to know that the poet regret having lost his innocence as a child. He realized that after he turned 12, he realized that Helen Havel didn't exist in as had been taught to him. He rationalized his thought and drew his own conclusion. I hope you like this video, which is very important according to your examination point of view. Thank you so much.